Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League. We've got a banger matchup tonight between Primal Instinct Black and Chaotic Solar, two teams up towards the top of the standings in the Demacia group, both looking to secure themselves some dominance here as we start to round out the regular season here in the Aegis Champions League. My name is Gordo. I'm joined on the cast by TDS. TDS, we've got the duo back together. It's been like 3 weeks, dude. We've been missing weeks back and forth for the last couple of streams. Finally, we get to join each other on a stream again.
This is what happens when real life has things that simply are out of control, and then we cannot come back until today. But it's okay. We missed out on some matches, but it's still on the best point possible for the ACL. We have important matches coming up, teams trying to secure playoffs, teams trying to battle to have a chance at securing playoffs. So it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks that we will have left. Plus the fact that today we have like you were pointing out, top teams fighting each other out. Teams trying to secure that really good playoff spot, either in the top of the group or in between in the second or third spot. And this is going to be an important matchup. I think for Chaotic Solar particularly, they need to try and get this victory, try and catch up if possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting top 2 in the group is super important for being able to get into playoffs and not have to fight for those wild card slots. And Chaotic Solar, they're currently pushed out of there between the Exodia Exiles and Primal Instinct Black. So they're going to have to get a win here, as I believe they've already played Exodia. Yeah, they already have played and lost to Exodia Exiles. So this is really their shot to make it up towards top 2 in the standings. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that here, because Primal Instinct Black been on a bit of a tear here. They're at the top of the whole conference, sitting at a 6-0 game record, 3-0 match record. As we're already getting into the picks and bans. Nico banned on blue side, something I didn't really expect to see here, and a lot of junglers getting focused from the side of Chaotic Solar.
Exactly. It's surprising to see the Nico on the side that you typically first pick it, but there's always the question of if you can play the Nico or if you have other priorities over the Nico. There's champions that are really good right now that maybe they want to try and secure for themselves. On the red side though, you still have a lot of open options, and even if something gets first pick, you have a lot of good ways to try and counter them out. Della Blanc pick coming in here with the static shift tech, still not yet nerfed. Going to be, I think, at least one more week before we see the tech taken away with the nerfs that are coming through. So we're going to see this coming through for quite a bit. And not gonna lie, have been so happy to play the static shift on the mid lane. I've tried with everything possible. I think I played Corki, I played Nico, I played Oriana, I played Zoe. Zoe is really disgusting with the ship, by the way. Surprised to not having
everything that dashes out and dashes back is real crazy with it, because the stacking is stupid, right? It's like you get the movement procs towards actually triggering the static on going out on dashes, and then if you're playing like a LeBlanc or a Zoe, you get them going out on your blink out, and then you get them coming back also. So you get to kind of double dip there, and it means you stack up that shift just ridiculously fast. And yeah, it's why LeBlanc is so much of a problem. Gonna make it through in this draft though, so gonna be a very exciting pick to watch here for Platypus in the mid lane. Now facing off against Kaisa and Maokai. That could be a Kaisa mid as well. I mean, people have been taking the static shiv on the Kaisa. It feels like a champion that like a Moss might take for himself as well. Not a huge Kaisa player is Young Jay. So there's a couple of different options here for where that pick could go. It's actually a flex now. And the Ash going to be locked in for Primal Instinct, a little North American special there.
And I like the Ash, has been receiving quite a bit of buffs, has really good potential to try and deal percentage damage to some of these tankier champions. Obviously has the risk of no mobility, so if the Maokai or now the Rel that has been picked gets on top of her, it's going to be really difficult for her to escape. But the engage potential and also the assassination potential thanks to this Ash pick is going to go higher, because you have now the burst potential from the LeBlanc plus the stun from the Ash. You really can secure some kills or even a lot of poke if the position is right for them. I want to also talk a bit about the Rel, because has been rising so much in priority. We have seen, I think in the past week, how many teams have just been locking the Rel as soon as it was available because of how strong she probably feels right now with the engage potential. I still think that maybe she's not the strongest possible she could be, but I'm glad that she's in a spot where teams consider her and there's ways to try and play around her as well. Really happy to see the champion coming through like that.
Yeah, and a great pick here on R3 gives Choatic the opportunity to defend that pick a little bit. They ban away the Melio as a powerful ranged support to support that Ashe in a kind of more scale-focused game, and bans away the Ezreal, who is going to be one of those only picks that would be able to potentially dip on out of there if it is something like an Ashe support. The Varus ban going to round things out here for the side of Primal Instinct, and now Choatic, they're going to have to take either a mid laner, a bot laner, or a top laner here before we switch back over. They can keep that Kai'Sa flex alive if they choose to lock top, but of course everybody likes R5 top, so gonna be an interesting decision here.
And with the amount of times that Pib has hovered to Gwen, I would guess you would rather have the top laner be the counter pick in case the Gwen ends up getting picked. Ooh. And with the Twitch now selected, you know that it's going to be the Kai'Sa in the middle. Well, actually, I think it was last week I commented on this. I played against some Psycho that played Twitch in the mid lane with 3 out attack rune plus just full AP. I've never been more angry in my life after playing against that, so there's a possibility, but I would expect to see the Kai'Sa mid and the Twitch in the bot lane.
Yeah, I think AP Twitch is a little dead, at least in terms of the ACL. It's also a pick the Young Jay has played a couple of times already this season to some solid success, so not going to surprise me at all to see that one in there. And that means it's going to be like a Moz likely taking the Kai'Sa into the mid lane. There's that Gwen lock-in you called out, TDS, so it's going to be the blind Gwen in the top lane. We'll see what J-Bear is going to be willing to play into that one. He's just coming in onto the roster. It looks like it's going to be him on the roster at the very least. It could also be Maces. They've been playing with Maces the last couple of weeks. So we'll find that out when we get into Champion Select in client. And now going to be the Alistar to round things out for Primal Instinct for Recommissioner.
Well, something that does remind, or at least has some similarity, or at the very least has something in common with Melio, and it's the pushing away power. Both Melio and the Alistar can push away the Rel in case the Rel will try to jump on top of the carries of the team. So in that regard, I can see why the Alistar can work against the Rel. One of the champions that I feel like has been almost for the entire life of Rel picked against her in a lot of situations, and even in the current LCS week, we've seen the champion come through to try and counter the Rel. So not the weirdest counter possible. I was thinking maybe an Nautilus was going to come through for the engage potential, but Alistar to a certain degree works out really well as well. And then the R5 Renekton, the dreaded R5 Renekton, going to come against this Gwen. I'm not against that pick, particularly for the Gwen, because I do think that with the Kai'Sa you already have huge amounts of AP, so you don't need to cover that in any other area. And with the Renekton, if you're able to try and snowball him over the top lane and try and deny this Gwen super early on, you can really have a powerful champion to try and get on top of the Ashe. Point and click CC, really effective to kill champions, and he can really win you at the very least 15 minutes of the game by himself. So if they are able to play around this Renekton really well, I can see them running over a huge portion of this game just by virtue of the champion.
Yeah, definitely could see that coming through as well. I want to take a second to talk a little bit about Primal Instinct Black here, because this team on a bit of a tear through the ACL, and really one of our big surprise contenders, it feels like, in this split, with a lot of big name orgs, a lot of big name players coming into the league. Primal Instinct Black, they come into the group draw as the second lowest rated team, and are now at the top of this group, competing up with Exodia Exiles up at the top, and they have not even played the Exiles yet, so can very much be contending for that first seed out of the group. Really impressive stuff that we've gotten to see out of Primal Instinct so far, and I'm really excited to see them start to face off against some of the higher tier competition. Chaotic Solar sitting in the middle of that pack, looking to try to bring them back down to earth here a little bit. But Primal Instinct, they're playing in Risen Divine as well. They've been really grinding it out in a couple of different leagues, and now just doing so very well in the ACL of all places. I'm excited to see where they can go from here.
And it's a good thing to try and see these sort of teams that nobody has or a huge amount of expectations come through and have huge impact starting off. Obviously, this doesn't tell the story of what can happen later on in playoffs, but having a team that comes out of nowhere and is looking really strong and then can fight for playoffs in a really effective manner is going to be something really exciting. Reminds me of last week we had Reject Modernity over on the other side, and they were a team that people didn't have a lot of expectations either for them, right? So the fact that they come in as well on the other side of the group and are able to have an impact already is kind of exciting for the outlook of ACL, and makes the top teams have to be ready for whatever comes through, because there's some top teams in both sides that need to wake up a bit sooner rather than later, because maybe they end up losing out on playoffs. It's going to be a fun race for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention an interview with Key Lime is on the Aegis YouTube channel with our boy Brankles, going out there to do a little breakdown of Key Lime, how he came onto the team, how the team came together, what their goals are. Really great. Quick little piece of content there to check out when we go on break, or when TDS and I start to bore you a little bit too much. Definitely want to shout that one out. And also want to shout out the roster here for Chaotic Solar. Now that we're in Champion Select, we can see who the players are. It is going to be Maces in the top lane, who has been subbing in and playing with them the last couple of weeks, played for them in week 2 and played for them in week 3. And then also want to call out Big Time Boyo, who has come in as their new support starting in week number 3. It was Nostalgia Lee in that position for the first couple of weeks, but they've dropped him. They've brought in Big Time Boyo, and so far have had pretty good results. They took a 2-0 win up against no AoE damage last week with him. Hoping to keep that perfect record alive with their new support player.
And with someone like Youngye that does like to train with bot lane, that does like to have the team on his back to try and carry out, I think that this may be a pairing that has a lot of potential, a lot of promise. I'm excited to see how they keep on developing and how the team plays around them. Obviously, two additions to the team that maybe weren't as expected to come through. Maybe the Maces one a bit more clear than Big Time Boyo. It was a bit more unexpected on that side, but it's been working out, and if it keeps working for them, it's probably going to be a really good thing to try and call out later on. As we can see, we get really good fancy what is it called? Fancy graphics now. Yeah, I wasn't even sure we were going to get things like this. You can thank Katie for these graphics. Really fancy looking.
Yeah, no, like to be able to check out these runes as we get into picks and bans here. Doesn't look to be anything too abnormal. I mean, we can see that it's going to be the Phase Rush Maokai. That's kind of been the more popular option versus the Aftershock for a while. He gets the river walking this way, gets a couple of other nice little tricks in the toolkit there to make sure he's going to be successful. And it is going to be this Hail of Blades for the Kaisa. That's also pretty meta, as is the Fleetwork for LeBlanc. That's what you have to go with the Static Shiv build, because it gives you more powerful charges.
It's so bothersome to try and take trades like that in the mid lane, because you can just keep out attacking. Like, champions that weren't typically out attackers now get to out attack consistently, and it's really bothersome to go against each other. So I'm kind of excited to see how low mid laners get. Bot lane, AD carries, pretty similar rune outtake here. Both are going to go for the out attack build, so they are going to go for percentage health. I'm pretty sure they are going to go both for the Blade of the Ruined King and try and get as much damage as possible through that, especially with possible huge tanks on each side. I think that you want to try and secure that sort of life bar destruction item. And then support's pretty similar. One big difference though is the lack of ignite on the Alistar, so it's going to be interesting seeing how trades end up going in the bot lane. You have the exhaust to try and deny damage from the Twitch, but the ignite may be the difference between an Ashe alive or dead.
Yeah, and I think what this really shows us here is that Aftershock is just way too weak now. We've over-nerfed Aftershock maybe a little bit, because Alistar, Rel, and Maokai are all in the game, and none of them are taking it. Do love to see that out of the Alistar. I mean, there used to always be that choice, right, between the Aftershock Alistar and the Chad Phase Rush Alistar to try to get behind them and get some real mileage out of the headbutt there. Now you get the Glacial Augment Alistar, which is, I guess, a whole nother third thing. Gonna be still a really powerful rune, still one that's probably valuable on those engaged supports, but not quite the dive enablers that we've seen before. So gonna make it a little bit tougher to dive these turrets, especially after how much power they've funneled into those turrets over the course of time.
I do like quickly to point out with the Glacial Augment on the Alistar, every champion pretty much has a way to try and escape over on the side of Chaotic Solar. So the fact that you get a lot of that freezing feel to deny movement speed on some of these champions can end up becoming quite ideal. And if you're able to force a flash just because they are way too slow to run away, it will always result in an advantage for your team. Same to a certain degree for Big Time Boyo, because you do have ways to try and slow down these champions. And even if LeBlanc has Distortion or the flash to escape, she still will get slowed enough that you can try and persecute her. It's going to be a fun interaction how they end up going on each side with that Glacial Augment, and who gets to die first because they are way too slow to escape.
Yep. one more shout out to We Win here at the bottom, just completely destroying the assets for champion select. The game in-game name going a little bit too long, and just kind of running over into like a Moss's little box there. So that's going to be unfortunate, but we'll see how that looks in game, because I assume that's like max character length. I assume that's going to be a little bit of a distraction when we get in game.
I'm honestly surprised he was able to get so big of a name. Like, I thought there was going to be a
the cap's like way larger than you would think it would be. I remember this was like season 1, season 2 stuff. I remember people talking about like, you want to have a username that's as long as possible because it makes it easier to like click on you. I don't know if that was ever actually true. Maybe back in like season 1, season 2 world it was, but I remember this being a subject of debate. I remember like Dyra's stream talking about having a really long name and the difficulties it presents for your opponents.
That is something I would have never expected. That goes to show how different it was from when I came into the game to how it was before me. Like, there's some things that I haven't seen that are kind of, it's like those stories that all people tell you of what happened before you were even alive. Without trying to imply anything badly, no.
we used to walk uphill both ways. We used to struggle.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know that was some sort of discussion. That's actually amazing, but I can see that coming through. Honestly, I hope that we get eventually to a state in the game where this sort of picks go into support position. I remember when Camille came out, where Sejuani was meta or could be played in the support position. Like, those were really good times trying things out. When Yuumi was first released, I remember the Bolivar support, pre-reworked Bolivar support. It was great. I miss those times.
True.
Things like that.
It's a good piece of content. I'm being told the stream died for a couple seconds. We are back. We're working through a little bit of ping right now, but we'll be back on there before too long. I do see my parsec has died, so I'm gonna have to get that resolved as well. But we will still be loading into game. We are not out of the game, by the way. We are not missing anything. The game is paused for the time being, so we're just filling time for a little bit here until we can get onto the Rift for that first run.
Wouldn't be an ACL match without a pause at some point. All the time we have pauses, so it just goes to show that we're on ACL Friday, and this is going to be a really exciting match.
Definitely looking like it could be here. All right, I see the stream is up, so the stream is running. It's definitely just my parsec that I've lost out on, so we'll make sure that we can get that resolved before we do get onto the Rift here. Again, just dealing with a little bit of pause for the time being, so we will be on there before too long. Now, looking like it is going to be a fun match, though. I mean, I fully expect this to go to 3 games. I mean, if you look at solo queue ranks, if you look at their history in these leagues, these teams are pretty closely matched.
And based on standings as well, right? Like, yes, Choatic Soldiers below them, but just by 1 match. They can, if they are able to win here, they close out the distances, and they are able to try and climb in the standings as much as possible. So it should be a close enough match. Unless someone is completely on point tonight, I don't expect it to go less than 3 games like you, Gordo. And if I think PIB wins, could be a really good statement game to say we are not only, those first 3 wins are not only for show, we are here, we are the real deal. And I'm kind of excited to see if PIB can deliver on that.
I definitely am, as well as Primal Instinct moving up towards the top side. Maces will spot them to start things off here. So gonna be spotted out at the very least. We got 5 gold off of Ping in the Ward. At the very least, that goes over to somebody. Now going to be moving on towards that red buff to make sure that they can get that early vision. Going to be traded by Choatic, so nothing too exciting here at level 1.
I'm surprised. And this is something that I've noticed a bit more on the level 1s now, that PIB didn't take the lens for their level 1. It's a really good measure. Since you're going with the 5 champions, you have 4 wards, and then you have the lens to try and deny some of the vision early on. So could be a good measure to deny, to get us to give us little information as possible, and also take away from the other side. Surprised that they didn't go for this. It's obviously a small adaptation, but I think it does provide good value for teams that opt into it. We have a small pause delay. That's the pause that the small delay that happens when a pause happens, so it should be resolving those.
Yeah, the pause after the pause. It's classic replay client stuff. should be back into things before too long. But saw the level 1. It's pretty stock standard out of both teams. Going to be what at least starts off a pretty calm laning phase. We expect it's going to really come down to this Renekton, like you were saying, TDS. I really want to see what they're going to be able to accomplish with Maces up in this top lane in the early game before Nick starts scaling up on the Gwen.
And it's already setting up. Look at the level 1 in the bot side as well, by the way. Going for the red buff, knowing that no one started here, it's going to get stolen. Wenwen may have been seen here, but I think the Viego, even if he goes for the red buff, I'm not sure if he has enough time if Wenwen goes immediately for it.
Yeah, going to be able to secure that one. We'll see if Laneless is going to be able to steal it back. Doesn't look like it's a cross map quite yet, but he's going to be able to steal away those birds as well, and is spotted going in for the invade. This could be risky if Maces hits level 2 and gets a chance to go down, but I think it's early enough that that's not really going to be an opportunity.
I think the problem is that now they are moving. They do have the push in the mid lane with like a Moss and with the Maokai coming through. LeBlanc wants to answer, but she has no Platypus maybe.
Big chunk. Here. Great damage there out of the not the make it rain, but that hail right there gets a ton of damage in, and now Platypus forced to flash on the back foot, and a potential hunt for Laneless. It looks like he's been able to sneak away though.
He's going on the hunt on the other side though. Look at that, he's going for the Maokai. They know that they have enough health to try and contest here, and this could be a really good steal to try and deny Wenwen as much as possible. Have no smite. It actually is one that takes in.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to Nick's. It's not going to be great for Laneless's chances of getting ahead on the pet, but it is going to give Nick some additional golden XP. So can't complain too much. Just making sure to support his top laner there is Laneless.
Well, if you think about it, they stole from Wenwen anyway, so it is taking away from Wenwen. It's just better to give it to the jungler because of the pet, like you're pointing out, and also to try and keep yourself as high above in levels as possible. But it's a good attempt, and I really like the sort of aggression that they were having. Nice trade from Maces in the top lane, but the Gwen is not staying behind when going for these sort of small trades. Doing a really good job up there in Aegis to try and not only push the wave, but now allow it to bounce it back so that Viego can have a timing on top of it.
For sure. As Ace is going to get this wave cleared out, as Nick's low on mana due to the time spent roaming around, and is going to try to force a TP out here, get himself a little bit of an advantage.
Going to have the small push. It's just going to be, I think, a trade for teleports after Maces goes back, although Nick is taking a lot of damage here. Maces could look for a kill if he really wants to.
Yeah, definitely. Without the flash there on the Gwen, it's just going to be way too risky. So gonna have to recall, gonna have to TP back, gonna get denied a couple of CS while he's engaged in those activities. So a good early start here for Maces on the Renekton. Does manage to build himself up a lead, even though Nick's participating in some shenanigans to set behind Wenwen.
I want to see this sort of the level 1 movements to try and set up for your jungler, but then it may impact your lane in a certain manner, so you have to be extra careful about how you perform around it. But the advantage for this Renekton now, it's so nice. Has the pickaxe to just the 2 armor cloths. LeBlanc has to be careful here with that amount of damage.
Oof. Yeah, the early game Kai'Sa damage really coming out huge here for like a Moss, landing those isolated Acathian rains, getting some good trades in with the hail of blades. And Platypus at risk of losing a lot of this wave. I mean, it's really dangerous for him to distortion in and try to clear out those caster minions. He's gonna lose at least a couple.
Lost pretty much 4 of them. Oh, wait.
Good engage here from Commissioner. It's going to be the collapse up from Laneless. Flash away from the Maokai. Here comes Crash down from Big Time, and he's going to land it onto Commissioner, but Wenwen flashes away just in time. Now Laneless up way too far. That's going to be first blood picked up for Choatic, and Platypus now trying to clean things out. They've called up Keylime. Keylime will be able to pick up that first kill up against Big Time, but it's traded back onto Commissioner. There's going to be the twisting advance back in. He dies to Keylime for it, and Keylime is just cleaning these all up. A double kill for Like a Moss, but it's a triple kill for Keylime. 3-3 on the scoreboard.
And all in all, it's not a bad trade for the side of Chaotic Solar. Wait a sec, even better maybe?
Yeah, this is a solo kill for Mace's big time here. Nick's nowhere to go, gonna get melted down now without TP as well. Mace is showing that dominance on the Renekton in the early game.
And it's all on the cascading effect that Mace was able to set up. From the way that he stocked the wave, to being able to push away Nick so early on, getting the advantage in damage, and now forcing the kill. With the ultimate, with the level advantage, even all's close to getting that last blade. 2 blades and a kill, that is so much value for this Renekton. But moving back to the mid lane play, where we see the Kai'Sa getting 2 kills, plus the Maokai getting the first blood, it is a really good trade for Chaotic Solar. Yes, the Ashe now has a 3-0 lead over the Twitch, but as long as the Twitch doesn't die, which he didn't, and he's able to farm comfortably, he's going to reach a really strong point. But the difference in mid lane right now, the static shift builders, the ones that are going to have a lot of burst damage potential, like Amos is so far ahead that Platypus needs to be extra careful about how he goes for certain traits, and we've already seen him losing out on way too many once again.
So much damage landed there from the Prey Seeker. Really crucial to be able to land those additional abilities, chunk out LeBlanc even further, and as you said, losing out on the race to Static Shiv here and opting for the Noon Quiver over the Kirche's Shard, just going to end up losing out on even more potential poke damage.
Exactly, and it's nothing to understate as well, the losing the race to the Static Shift, because what makes the Static Shift not only really strong with the AP damage is the oppressiveness of how you can push waves instantly. The fact that now you essentially will lose push every time because you don't have the Static Shift means that LeBlanc cannot roam, and that's one of the biggest strengths of this LeBlanc. The fact that she can move around the map really quickly because she doesn't need to be stuck in the wave when she has the shift, but since she won't have it before the Kai'Sa, it's going to be so slow to the play.
Yeah, it is definitely worth noting though, so much money has been funneled into Key Lime now in the bottom lane. This Ashe is just going to be an absolute monster. If Laneless wants to play around that lane, trying to stack up dragons, it looks like they're already pinging onto this one without their jungler being present. They just want to make sure they can get that vision. This could be a really big point of power for Primal Instinct to play around.
Well, bot lane and dragons are almost always a great thing to try and play around, so if they are able to get it, which looks like they'll try to go for it, especially if the focus on the Rift Herald goes to Chaotic Solar, then it should be a really nice advantage to try and get. It's first Infernal Dragon though, so that means that maybe the soul is not going to be that worth it, but I feel like it's a risk you have to play around, especially because of how strong your bot lane is.
For sure. So the Rift Herald is going to get started up. Mace is so powerful on the top side. Moss so powerful in the mid. And this is just going to be easy pickings here for the side of Chaotic Solar. Primal Instinct will trade cross map and get themselves this first dragon. Going to be pretty even all in all, but it is going to build up a slightly bigger gold lead for Chaotic.
I honestly would have liked to see Maces be the one to collect it. Oh, in middle engaged on.
Yeah, both in mid and in top and in bot. We're fighting all over the map, TDS, but nobody going to end up going down. Just going to be chunks onto Nick's, chunks onto Moss, and a little bit of a recall coming through here for the Chaotic Solar bot lane.
I'm pretty sure Moss has Static Shift already completed, so it's going to be a pretty nice back to be able to come back into the lane. And then the bot lane, yes, they were engaged on, but like we were talking about, as long as Twitch doesn't die, he's in a perfectly fine spot. Teleport up their top lane. Do they really want to force this? Renekton flashes away though.
Yeah, I think they're just worried that if they don't do that, Maces might just flash on Nick's and solo kill him, and then they'll lose the turret and the whole wave. So at the very least this way, they get to clear the wave. But yeah, that is definitely like, I guess because you trade it for flash, it's kind of worth it. But just showing that Maces is a big problem in the top lane.
100%. Well, that's why you do go for the counter pick here with the Renekton. And with the fact that you already have Wade and Platypus,
losing so much HP, just the proc is going to be enough. Like a Moss with a solo kill will go down to laneless. That is shutdown gold picked up for the jungler, so it ends up being pretty close when all is said and done gold wise, but great job by Like a Moss to be able to get that trade back.
The value in the damage from Lycamus is just way too high, and I'm honestly surprised that he didn't use the ultimate over on the side towards his turret to try and escape. You have the shield and you have the extra movement to try and escape. Obviously there's flash still on laneless, but at least blowing the flash off the Viego would have been fine. That being said, it's still a solo kill, and the value that the Kai'Sa will have now, it's going to be really high. But Platypus does get the static shift as well, which means that now the situation is going to be a bit more equal in the mid lane.
Definitely, but a whole recurve bow ahead, plus the dark seal here for Like a Moss, so he's able to secure some more of those kills. It's going to be a big difference maker already. Just trying to get this damage in. Nice dodge out there, using the killer instinct to make sure that not going to let Platypus land anything, going to get good damage back with the Acathian Rain and the Plasma procs. And already you can see the health bar advantage is already producing there big time for Lycamos, and now they're going to just throw down the Rift Herald and look to cash out even more.
And they have 2 members coming in. Wait, the Ash Arrow?
Yeah, lands onto Wen. He's just going to be able to tank that up. Now he's throwing down that Nature's Grasp, but TP is coming in. That's going to be Nicknix up way far ahead of the rest of his team. Commissioner coming in on the flank, going to land the pulverized headbutt onto 2, but his health bar's melting fast. And Lycamos and Young Jay, they're just untouched. They're raining through the damage, the double kill, the triple kill to Young Jay. But the turret is starting to return fire back. So is Key Lime, who's got a double kill for himself. The marksman popping off in the fight. It's going to be a 3 for 2 in favor of Choatic.
The slight difference in damage could have been really what makes or breaks this fight. Really good fight coming in from PB to try and turn around, at least get back some gold. And I love that Chaotic Solar still also forced the issue with the Rift Herald. That being said, it makes it so that they still are in the lead. They still have the advantage on the Kai'Sa, but they also get kills onto Young Jay. 3-0 now for the Switch. That is a lot of value that you're getting on one of your most important champions for late game.
And Key Lime, in his interview with Brankles, is saying, hey, I'm a bit of an old man here. I don't know how much longer I'm going to still be playing the game. Old man's got hands. He's representing for all of us here, TDS. Key Lime with a great team fight to trade back a couple of big kills. Going to be plenty more going over into the hands of Young Jay as well. But this is going to be a marksman-focused classic League of Legends game.
Exactly, you have to play for your 5-0 Ashe at this point of the game. The engage, look at that, the engage looked so promising, canceling also the rel from escaping, but the issue is that they were so far away and the damage was lacking a bit on the side of PIV that it felt like there was barely an opportunity for it to work out. But a huge chain to stop Maces, and then the Ashe actually dealing quite a lot of damage. I think if Key Lime just goes forward instead of giving that one slight step back, he gets the kill, and then the mistake on the hawk shot.
Yeah, I didn't notice the hawk shot. That defeats my point a little bit there, but still, he plays the fight well. He positions appropriately. He's playing some solid AD carry there. And
I will defend him on the hawk shot just because if you hover over the minimap by anything, it's going to go backwards. I've had that same issue with Aurelion Sol, and it's cost me kills.
Yeah, well, and worse than the minimap too, you can hover over your allies' champion portraits, and then you cast it on them. That's always the worst as well. So
exactly,
we'll make excuses. We'll make all the excuses we need to. As Platypus going in on a Lycamos again, just taking huge damage though as he goes in for the trade. He gets isolated himself. You know, this is why people like to take the Kai'Sa as a counter pick into the LeBlanc. It really has great trading patterns. It gets the bonus movement speed to dodge the chains, gets the isolation on a Cathian Rain, and Platypus really seeing that difference right now.
Mace is taking the second turn in the top lane as well, going to get a huge amount of gold. Yes, they lost out on the dragon, but I think that for how Chaotic Solar is playing this, getting that sort of gold advantage is going to be really valuable. And speaking a bit on the Kai'Sa as well, to follow up on the trading patterns, I think the big thing is that the fact that Acadian Rain is just point and click, technically. So even if the LeBlanc goes in and then goes away immediately, as long as you press the Q on time, she's going to take full damage on that. It's a really good way to try and maximize damage outputs on the Kai'Sa, and it's really easy for you to set up as much damage as possible onto the LeBlanc.
Certainly is here, and they're going to get even more money onto Key Lime's Ashe. Just taking down that turn in the bottom lane. Does split a little bit of it with Laneless, but they're willing to share. They're willing to split some money around on the side of Primal Instinct. Meanwhile, though, this is going to be mid-outer going down to Chaotic, so going to be up 3-1 in the turrets department, coming out ahead on that trade, and 4k gold ahead with this giant Renekton. That's going to secure them this Rift Herald pretty easily as well.
Exactly. 2 Rift Heralds collected now for the side of Chaotic Solar. So even though they've given up some objectives on the other side of the map, over on the top side, they've done their best to try and secure the Rift Herald. Going to have less value compared to the previous one because now it's post-played, so the gold value that you get is much less. But it can set up for some really good plays, especially considering that the soul point is going to come up in 3 minutes. You want to have that sort of Rift Herald play to try and push PAB over on the side and make them double guess or second guess on what they can go for. Wait. Nicknix went Frozen Fib.
Yeah, going the Iceborne Gauntlet up there. It looks like, I mean, I haven't seen it on Gwen, I did see it on. It reminds me of Licorice building it on Yone, like just kind of going for this sort of off tank style of split push champ. And it worked on the Yone. I don't know about it on Gwen, but we'll see. Nick's cooking out here.
So, okay, wait. I'll talk about it after the play. Maze is going in. Teleport coming in as well.
Yeah, pulverized headbutt. Wenwen taking a boatload of damage here. Platypus trying to focus him down, but the damage is all gone, and there's going to be a big magnet storm coming through from big time. Like a Moss joins the fight and melts the crew down. Maces gets one of them in there as well, and that's going to be 3 kills for none in favor of Choatic as they take down the bot lane turret.
It's taking down the turret, and I'm kind of I want to see the play there, but I'm not sure if the Gwen build does any damage there. Like, it may be like you were pointing out with the Gwen, but with the Yone build, although wait a second, Ash, oh no, kill him.
There's just the full-on dive. You cannot be staying up there that far with that few members left. That's going to be Chaotic Solar just marching it down, and now they don't have to stop for anybody. They've got a Rift Herald coming up. Platypus is just starting to respawn, but they're going to get this whole turret if they let them. Here's the flash pulverized headbutt. They want to get something back, but their enemy's just been melted, turned into mincemeat there by Like a Moss, who can continue to step forward and melt down the rest of the members. No Hollowed Mist available means a double kill goes over to Like a Moss. Young Jay's been pushed into the mid lane the whole way through, and Chaotic Solar just blew the game wide open.
With just one fight, the game goes completely out of control for PAB, and Chaotic Solar setting themselves not only for a really good potential victory here now, but the fight, look at the way that it started. It was looking like a potential good play for the side of PAB, but the issue here is how much damage can you actually deal with this Gwen build? It's not like you can't deal damage, but a lot of Gwen's value comes from the percentage health that you're able to take, plus the healing that you're getting. Great engage from the Rel there, by the way, but I feel like with the lack of damage on the Gwen, you're depending way too much on a LeBlanc that is behind the Kai'Sa in comparison. And also Keelan, your main damage dealer, wasn't in the fight at all. He came in at the end, gets collapsed and dies immediately, barely does anything. So you're playing away from your strengths and are trying to go for a play that requires you to have a lot of damage, which you clearly don't have at that point. Really unlucky there. A bit of misexecution, and it turns into such a good long play for the side of Chaotic Solar to get not only the 2 turrets on the bot side, or 3 turrets on the bot side, but also a lot of kills. Oh, Ash Arrow coming through.
Well, there's going to be over the wall big time once again, landing Ace Magnet Storm. Okay, but what about the follow-up? Here comes Maces trying to dish out the damage. Does get on a killing spree over the wall with the Ruthless Predator.
Oh,
but will get Keyline for his troubles. Young Jay, though, spraying and praying over the wall. Double kill, triple kill to the Twitch. One more expunge could get him the Quadra. He's hunting down Platypus, and he's got him. 4 kills to the Rat in the bot river. And there's going to be the ace picked up for Chaotic Solar.
And in the meanwhile, Like a Moss just pushing top lane comfortably, trying to get the turret up there. It was a 4v5, and they still won it so decisively without one of their strongest members. This game feels like it's not only in complete control of Chaotic Solar, but should be close enough for them to be able to close it out. They are going to get the 3rd dragon. Laneless is dead.
Just completely getting melted now by Like a Moss, who's willing to keep taking it. Nick's on the other side, does have access to the Ruthless Predator over the wall. Killer Instinct cannot get taken down, and now just finally getting chased down by 3 members that will be in trade for a dragon for Chaotic Solar. But a big shutdown is earned for Nick's there.
It's all on Keelan Gordo. He's 7-2. He has 2 items. He's the damage of the team at this point. They are really depending on them. Nicknix needs a bit of time. The issue with this build as well, I won't say it's bad or good. I feel like the main issue is that your damage is going to take a bit longer to be able to stack, right? So if you want Nicknix to have his maximum damage output, the fights have to be either way too long for him to get the damage out, or you need at least 2 more items on him that he can deal damage. If they're able to buy enough time for Wins to get 3 items, I can see this build kind of finding value not only inside of team fights or inside of the 1v1, because that way when fights are going to be longer and she can stack her damage. But at this point, it's really difficult for Nicknix to find that sort of value.
For sure, is now setting up onto the Baron is Chaotic Solar. They are already chunking it out pretty low. They do it pretty quickly thanks to plasma stacks and how strong Youngjae is on this Twitch. Already below 4k HP. Laneless gonna have to find some vision. Gets in there with the Heartbreaker, but they're gonna hunt him down. 1 versus 5. He drops quickly, and there's gonna be the Baron picked up for Wenwen. Chaotic Solar very close to handing Primal Instinct their first loss of the ACL season, and it is looking all but guaranteed with a 12k gold lead in the Baron marching down mid.
It's their first potential loss, and it's not only the fact that it's their first loss, but it's also the way that they are losing so decisive from Chaotic Solar. So much value. Killam is getting collapsed on by the Maokai. Do you think he can take the 1v1?
I don't really, but we'll see. We'll see if he can make some kind of miracle happen on this Ashe with all the outplay potential she represents. Getting the recall interrupted, I mean, is taking a lot of damage into Wenwen, but this 4-on-4 surely favors Chaotic Solar. Youngjae fishing around on the outside. There's going to be the Magnet Storm onto 3. Now opening up with the spray and pray, already legendary, melts through the front line and melts through the back line just the same. There's going to be 4 kills picked up by Chaotic Solar. Meanwhile, Keylime went down in the bot lane, and that is going to be a decisive game number 1 win for Chaotic Solar. Inhibitor respawning, but does not matter as the rest of them are still down. Easy game for Chaotic.
It really feels like that, right? The domination that they showcased this game was so good. Since minute 1, they had so much control over the map. That fight in the river felt a little bit worrisome because of how it went, but before going over the whole game, look at that fight in the bot lane between Keylime and Wenwen. It's the damage from the Maokai with the Mips, and he didn't die, which is the funniest part here.
Yeah, he just needed the enhanced sapling from the bush. That was the difference maker. So just got to run up the Tribrush, and then, you know, can take the 1v1 up against ADC. Easy.
If it works out, I wouldn't go against it. And the fact that they are able, I think that showcased the dominance in the game. The fact that the Maokai can kill the Ashe so effectively in that 1v1 in the bot lane. And it also goes to show with now this post-game breakdown, the fact that the damage difference, right? LeBlanc, one thing that characterizes LeBlanc right now with the shift is the fact that she deals so much damage and she out CS's the opponent in the lane. Kai'Sa never felt that. She controlled the lane from minute 1, got a lot of the value in her lane, CS advantage, damage advantage, and by the time LeBlanc got the shift, it was a bit too late because Kai'Sa not only had that, but more damage on her side. So much control, so much value on the side of Chaotic Solar, and then also to add on top of that, Twitch never died. That's one of the things that we talked about as well. Twitch, yes, wasn't part of the early fights, but in the meanwhile, he was farming, he was gaining value, he was getting to the point where he could carry the game out, and that's exactly what Youngjae did eventually.
All right, so TDS, I got to ask you, what are the reviews on Iceborne Gwen top? I did some research in the background after it got built. It has got a 0.8% pick rate in solo queue. It has not been picked by anybody in pro.
Yeah.
What do we think about it? Is it the truth?
So the thing is that I was trying to think when you brought up the Yone comparison, right? Yone in his kit has innate healing, if I'm not wrong. And it's not a bad margin of healing. So he can go Iceburn, another chunk item, and then what is the item called? Witsend, I think it is. Or yeah, Witsend. You have lifesteal, resistance, and tank, and armor. So you can go for that in certain situations. It works out really, really well. I think the issue with Gwen is that she doesn't have innate healing, if I'm not wrong. different approach for PIB, possibly as well in mid laners. Maybe we see a mirror matchup, LeBlanc, Kai'Sa, but on the opposite sides.
Yeah, for sure. We are still seeing these jungle bans directed towards Wenwen. I do anticipate that it is going to continue to be, or sorry, directed towards laneless rather. And I do anticipate that it is going to be Udyr banned once again, directed towards Wenwen, as junglers taking off on both sides. Still going to be that Nico ban coming in from red, and the Maokai going to join them as Wenwen has their champion pool pinched just a little bit further. So no Udyr, no Maokai. They've been defaulting to the Vi in these kinds of situations. I'm curious to see if that's what they're going to go for here.
Well, has the same point and click value, maybe a little bit lesser because it's not a W point and click CC, but instead an ultimate. But Vi does have a lot of value with the point and click and can set up for really good plays. It's Kai'Sa first pick, worked amazingly for Hamas in the previous game. Don't see why you cannot go back into it, especially because you build Shiv against anyone anyway, so it's not like it's going to bother you that much. And opting instead now PIV for the Syndra Wukong. So non-Shiv builder, although you technically can build it, it's not what you typically see with the Syndra, so not going to expect it, but it will have a lot of late game power, and the Scatter the Weak can find a lot of value with the potential to also one-shot champions with the Wukong's help.
Yeah, no, I'm big time out on the static Shiv Syndra. I think this is going to be a pretty normal Syndra, and I think it looks like a lot better of a pick into the Kai'Sa coming through from Moss, although it still doesn't necessarily have to be for Moss, right? You could still flex that down bot for Young Jay. Generally wants to be more on those hyper carries, right? This is the Kog'Maw Twitch guy of the league, so I anticipate that they're going to prioritize those kinds of picks if they can, but could always flex around that Kai'Sa if need be. The Rel going to be the lock-in for Big Time Boyo once again. Had a really solid performance on that in game number 1. Now Rek'Sai being hovered. The freshly buffed Rek'Sai's got a higher tick rate on her passive, but they're going to go for the Nocturne instead.
So, well, I like Nocturne. I like to watch different jungle champions, but I wanted to see the Rek'Sai. It would, like you were pointing out, has the buffs. More early game jungler, can have a lot of highs, also a lot of lows, but it's an exciting champion to try and see. The Nocturne though will provide a bit more late game value. Paranoia is a great ultimate, especially if you have tools to try and engage on the enemy team. Paranoia can set that up really effectively because they don't see it coming as easily as they would in normal situations. And then also, if he gets to the backline, he can kill a lot of champions. You have the Thresh as the last pick now for PAB before the second round of bans. I think mainly for the Lantern value, as well as a bit of pushing away for the Rel. That is going to deny engage potential and also allow for some member that gets caught out of position to escape really effectively with the Lantern.
Yeah, and I do want to shout out here, right? Like, I love to see Nocturne here specifically with this Kai'Sa, because it's like the vision denial aspect of Paranoia feels like it's like real underexplored in like how you can work it into team comps. Like whenever you talk to pros about Graves smokescreen, they are always like, I hate smokescreen so much. It's the most frustrating ability to deal with, to not be able to see. And the Nocturne ultimate is that for everybody. So I mean, we're gonna have fights where Rel comes in for a crash down, applies plasma to a whole bunch of folks, Nocturne ults, and then where's Kai'Sa? She could kill her instinct anywhere. You're gonna have no idea where this champion is gone in the middle of the fight. Could really open up for some really powerful engage opportunities between like Amos and Big Time Boyo, as long as Wenwen is ready to press the ultimate. As we see top lane bans coming on across the board, plus that Xayah, and looking like the Ashe might be the choice once again for Key Lime.
So could work in a similar manner to how maybe the LeBlanc was set up with the build, right? The fact that you have the peak potential, Varus still does fit that build where you have the peak potential with the ultimate, try and set up for the burst potential of the Syndra and the Wukong. We need to see what the Varus will build, because could be the AP Varus instead of the lethality or attack speed Varus, but I think that Varus with its versatility can find a lot of value. Malphite though, it's a champion that is happy to be able to go against AD carries like the Varus, because he's going to be an immobile carry, so you just get free access to the backline in a lot of ways. It's going to be really fun for him and for the Nocturne as well. They also banned away the Gwen in the last ban, so trying to deny that potential counter pick from PIB from having a lot of value against this Malphite. And then the Twitch, Youngja played really well, has a lot of value thanks to the Rel engage, and then Nocturne ultimate as well. The Silas, I love this counter pick over on the top side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they were really satisfied with how the bot lane duo worked out for them in game number 1. Not going to be a big surprise to me that they do run it back. Like the Silas, super good here. Great ultimates to steal pretty much across the board. I mean, I guess spray and pray probably sucks a little bit. Gives you like 50 auto attack range on Silas and a little bit of pass through damage. I don't know if that one's really great, but everything else looks fantastic, right? You get to dash around between Paranoia and Killer Instinct. You got Magnet Storm and Unstoppable Force to come in and get those huge ultimates off and find big engages for your team. You can pair up with the Wukong just the same way as like a Malphite and Rel duo. So going to be a great pick there, assuming that they can have some more success with it. Oh, and I didn't even really think about this at first. I'm so used to defaulting to Silas mid. It's going to be Silas top for Nicknicks. Because there's no way Syndra's going up there. And that is actually, to quote my boy Freak here, that is the most one-sided matchup in League of Legends, actually. The strongest individual counter pick in the game is Silas into Malphite. It's like a 60% win rate or something crazy.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. I knew that it was a strong counter pick for the Silas.
This was like a year ago, so it might not be the case anymore, but I could see it still. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, like trade wise, it's really easy for Silas to get on top of the Malphite, to make use of the Malphite ultimate, to get a lot of healing back after trading with the Malphite. So can be quite interesting to see. I know that the Silas should win a lot of the trades, and then the ultimate value is so important, I think, in this particular game with the Silas, because the composition from PAB went from just having a lot of peak potential value with also team fighting value thanks to the Wukong and the Syndra, to now being completely able to pivot from peak potential to team fight. Like the value now augmented thanks to that, because you have Malphite ultimate, you have Rel ultimate like you were bringing up for the one combo potential, but also the fact that now you have counter Paranoia to deny engages and make yours happen can be so valuable for the side of PAB. It's going to be a really interesting matchup, seeing who gets the better out of their ultimate and who is able to utilize them in a more effective manner. I'm really excited for team fights to come in mid game and then in late game as well.
Yeah, I do want to see. You can spell shield hijack. So that's going to be a fun little game for Wenwin to be playing. If he can keep his wits about him, see when when Nicknicks rather is trying to steal away that ultimate, he can block it if he has his W up. So gonna be a fun little mini game to check out there. But yeah, he's gonna have the time of his life up against Maces in the top lane, because as you said, like the trades are really good, the ulti steal is really good because the AP ratio on it's crazy. You're an AP champion into Malphite, that's already inherently very good, and you get to ignore it. A lot of his power budget is invested in that bonus armor he gets from his W when the passive's up. That's going to be pretty much nullified there. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Maces, right? He had a great time in top lane in game number 1. He is not going to have it in game number 2. I promise you. So it's going to be up to the rest of the team to kind of make up that difference now for the side of Chaotic Solar. And I mean, Young Jay did a fantastic job. Lycamos did a fantastic job. Definitely seems like they can play through these players as well, but they're really going to have to.
Yeah, the difference maker, I think it's going to be the fact that in the previous game, with Maces pushing, you have a lot of pressure that you can play off of in your jungle. Now that Mace is going to get pushed, probably Youngjae and Big Ten Boy are going to get pushed as well. And then mid lane maybe a bit more contested later, but I think early on, Platypus should have a lot of the pushing power. What can Wenwin try and achieve, right? Because in the previous game, he had a lot of pushing on his side, and he was able to invade, to try and provide for lanes, try and go toe-to-toe with the Viego and fight around. This time around, the lanes in theory shouldn't have as much agency or as much potential to try and provide for his jungler. And if that's the case, I can see Laneless going into the jungle, fighting the Nocturne with support of the lanes, and trying to put this Nocturne as far behind as possible. And it could be a really difficult matchup for the Nocturne in that case.
Yeah, definitely could be here. Gonna be a tough one-on-one as well. I mean, the Wukong's just super powerful. Can really take some of those extended trades when it does end up coming up. I see you're raising an eyebrow there, TDS. Did I miss something on the runes?
No, Katie. Well, I'm not going to. Well, I already did. Showing the Gwen Renekton matchup once again when it's.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, we'll have a little bit of flame coming through there. It's all right. We'll get that resolved.
I'm so sorry, Katie.
probably on the OPGG from the previous game or something. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
We're gonna check that out. Arcane Comet for Malphite based. Love to see it. There is a press the attack Malphite build that some people go for. Not gonna be this game though.
I actually like it. I like it for the matchups, kind of like the Silas, where you do go for the out attack quite a bit. That being said, you don't want to level up the W in this sort of matchups either, because the armor doesn't really help you that much here against the Silas particularly. Maybe in some instances if he out attacks a lot, but technically trading patterns from the Silas involve magical damage, so more than likely not going to be the best. This is probably the best way to try and secure damage onto the Silas as much as possible. Nocturne, pretty similar as well, just going for damage. Wukong as well with the Conqueror to survive a lot. Junglers in this sort of way don't change much apart from their main first rune. I think that everything after the first main rune is pretty similar after that.
Definitely. So we're just ticking on down to get loaded into game. Hopefully not going to have a pause to start things off this time. We will be looking forward, though, to how the mid lane matchup is going to potentially change, right? Because we've really changed the fortunes of these solo laners, and that's what I feel like could really flip the game on its head. That is a lethal tempo on the Kaisa, so not going the Halo Blades this time.
Is it for more uptime on your auto attacks, maybe?
Yeah, I mean...
That would mean that you're going out attack Kaisa, no? Well, technically, they could go static shift and then full AD without going AP, but you're lacking AP damage anyway.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just feels like they had a lot of time untouched last game and feel like it's going to be even more so the case this game. As, you know, as long as they avoid Wukong, they're going to be pretty unbothered. An interesting choice. I like to see that adaptation. I mean, I love seeing the same player pick the same champion 2 games in a row and take different setups. It says that you're thinking about it and not just taking the top thing on OPGG.
It's trying to adapt to the situation, and if it works out, it's great for him because it goes to show that he tried to make a good choice into something that it's different. Bot laners, pretty similar as well. Going to be out attacking for this Barris, so I think he's going to opt for the AP Barris build with the static shift. And then supports, I think they're going to take both Glacial Augment. Okay, actually,
Aftershock. It's happened.
Aftershock. So, not against it because of the survivability aspect of it. It does give you a bit more resistance so you can take trades better. But one of the things that I like about the Thresh is the fact that with the Flay, you get a lot of the value from the freezing field, right? And once again, that is so much value when you consider that they have a lot of mobility and Flash is also going to come in play. Even if they flash away, the slow is so valuable to have. So can affect some kills, maybe not that much, but it's an interesting adaptation that I'm surprised to see on the Thresh.
So we'll see. I mean, I just talked as we loaded into the last game about how Aftershock is underpowered. So we'll see what they're going to be able to accomplish with it here on the side of Recommissioner. Is a dangerous Thresh player. This is the champion that gets banned against them the most.
It was banned this game.
Yeah, it was banned last game. It's been banned even prior to tonight, right? Primal Instinct had played 6 games. Thresh had been banned in 4 of those. So Recommissioner, not a player that many teams are willing to let get the Thresh. Let's see how they're going to be able to do it. And, they've even changed their name. They're Commissioner again now.
Yeah, he wanted to go back to his origins and went for Commissioner. Okay. Also, level 1 attempt here, and probably not going to find out. Wait, actually. If Lycamoss gets baited into it, there could be a potential kill there. It's 5 members.
There could. Ramp Ward coming down up top from Wenwin. Looks like they're going to be returning one here. Or will they? Oh, they got it on red buff, so good enough for Primal Instinct. They secure themselves their bot side vision. They feel like they're going to be able to track the jungler off that sufficiently. Wenwin goes for that recall, picks up the scanner. Going to be Commissioner doing the same.
Kind of sad that we don't get the level 1 attempt like we did in the previous game from Chaotic Solar, but they did have a bit more level 1 prowess in that game, in the first game. So maybe this time around, just respecting a bit more of what the potential from PAB can be. The vision is pretty similar on both sides, although one is inside of the buff, the other is just outside of the vision range of the bird's range. So you're going to be able to see what the Wukong is going to attempt, unless he goes for that weird path where he goes over the side of the wall and then goes towards the bot side without getting spotted.
Yeah, going to be early Dark Spheres missing, like a Moss looking to take advantage of that opportunity to play aggressively. As we were saying, these matchups, right, they were all in favor of the solo laners for Chaotic in game number 1. Now those matchups have turned around, right? The Silas, the Syndra, those are counter picks into their opposition. Let's see how they're going to be able to execute on those and how that's going to turn around the fates of Primal Instinct as they look to get us to game number 3.
Well, so far the mid lane has been quite good for Lycamoss, taking a bit of damage onto Platypus. Like already half health once again. Pretty good job at that. And in the top lane, not yet much, but this matchup changes whenever Silas hits level 2 and level 3, because now with full abilities, you just get your combo out and it's so easy for you to clear and also to deal damage in the same moment.
Yeah, I mean, Lycamoss has insta-lock first picked this Kai'Sa in both games so far, so he clearly feels like he can take it into any matchup.
Yep.
Was not just a selection because the LeBlanc was given up, is clearly happy to take it into whatever they're going to represent for Platypus, and so far it's showing why, doing a solid job in the mid lane, at least in this early game. Did go for the sword to start things off, so I do think that was the start last game as well, so it doesn't mean too much.
Yeah,
still probably going to be the static Shiv build, but we'll keep our eyes on how this lethal tempo changes things up.
There's an opportunity for it to be a completely different build. I don't expect it, but would be interesting change up. That is a lot of damage in the top lane.
All right, hook comes through, lands onto the minion. There's going to be a combo from Lycamoss. Now, taking a fair bit from Platypus as they're looking to stack up those Splinters of Wrath and get those upgrades onto the Syndra later on into the game. So far navigating the early lane quite well for Maces. I do want to call out that Nick went for the Doran's Ring start up against Arcane Comet Malphite. Oftentimes you want to go Doran's Shield into Malphite no matter what, just because the Arcane Comet plus Seismic Shard is really annoying to deal with, and he's going to have to get up melee, use Kingslayer to regen some HP to even really come out even in these trades.
Oh wait, top lane gank?
All right, flash away from Maces. Win coming on up here. Nick hits a good
flash.
Player flashes in, picks up the first blood. He will get traded onto, but that is a big win for Nick.
100%. It's not only the kill that you get, plus Flash being flown, it's also the fact that teleport was blown by Maces, and Nick still has his, so he's going to come back into top lane like nothing happened, and Maces is going to take a bit longer. It seems like neither is going to use the flash, so going to still be an advantage for Nick, and a dive attempt.
Potentially. I mean, Youngjae keeping his distance, though, being very respectful towards laneless here. And the hook going to come through onto big time. He will remount, but that does not come with the shield. He's going to have to step back away. There's going to be not too much damage coming through. They don't really commit to the dive, so they deny a couple of farm from Youngjae, otherwise not accomplishing too much. As Lycamoss is getting kind of low here, has to play respectfully towards Platypus, gets good damage back off the Acathian Rain. Now, potential redive coming through. There's going to be the Lantern, not picked up. Wenwen and Nick sprawling in the top side. So Nick looks to prevent this steal away of the Krugs, but the damage for Nocturne, nothing to scoff at as he's just on the Lost Chapter. And now, once again, the dive not going to be committed to, so Primal Instinct going to be denied some farm, but otherwise are pretty okay.
They're not committing to dive, but they did deny quite a bit from the Twitch. It's a nice play to make it so that Twitch really is having a hard time down there. And in the mid lane, with the fact that the trades were going so much in favor of Platypus, that is so much damage. It took turret shots, right? I think it took 2.
Yep. He threw out a Seismic Shard in there, I think, or maybe just nicked him with the W AoE.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, he took aggro, he got chained up, and he goes down for a second solo kill to Nick.
Oh, Mazes, that is really unlucky. If it was a W proc, it's really unlucky. If it's the Q, it makes sense that you're getting engaged like that and end up dying. But with that kill, salvages a bit of the situation that was happening with Nick, because originally the fact is that with the teleport here, with the Nocturne on the side, I think he hits him here.
Oh, yeah, it's the
just
W.
the tip on the side. Oh no, that's so unlucky for Mazes there.
It's a little like he definitely didn't anticipate it, but it is a cone behind your target, and teleport does put you behind the turret 100% of the time. So predictable, perhaps. Oh, flash hook from Commissioner doesn't hit the target, and now Wenwen actually with a great opportunity to capitalize, takes down Keyline, crashes on a laneless who's just getting melted down. Youngjae picks up that kill. Platypus comes in, scatters the weak, gets one back, but he's gonna go down. Youngjae with a double kill, Lycamoss hunting down the next target. Killer Instinct in, and Commissioner goes down as well. 4 kills to Chaotic Solar in the bottom lane.
And that right there is what we call disaster, Gordo, because the play was so telegraphed. that Wenwin and also like Amos were able to roam down and respond to the play. It's a perfect read on Wenwin. He's waiting for this to happen. With how the trades were going, it was kind of a given, but he was waiting for the play. And when Commissioner flashed in and failed the Q, that's when the alarms ring. Wenwin waiting for the time, Keyline dying first, and then also I love to point out the big time Boyo's W here to Son laneless before trying to go for the kill and then giving it to the Twitch. Kaisa has to blow flash, but it's not the end of the world. And then in live, top lane did have to flash. Ooh, flash from the Syndra as well on live.
Yeah, I don't think it was just a trade of ultimates in the top lane. Maces used his unstoppable force to immune Nicknix's unstoppable force. As the hook coming in mid, Young Jay gonna be the next target, does just flash out to safety, and the 3v2 in mid gonna result in no further action, but Platypus did have to flash in mid.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I respect Young Jay just flashing away, not giving any sort of chance or anything like that to the Thresh to get the kill. But flash for flash ends up being the case because, like you're pointing out, Platypus did flash as well. And at the end, it's going to be a trade of summoners plus the hover on each objective. Bot side being controlled by PAB means that Dragon is theirs. And once again, Herald is going to be of Chaotic Solar because they have the control over there.
Yep, they made this trade last game too, and they were happy to do so. And now once again, going to be making it up here. Does look like a turret plate ended up going over to Maces at some point, so going to get himself a little bit of gold back there. Now going to be that dragon going over to Primal Instinct. Wenwin picks up the Rift Herald and already making a beeline into the enemy jungle. Knows that Laneless is on the bottom side and that this is his chance to cash out.
Also, the gold lead, even though the play went like that for Chaotic Solar, is not as high. Just because of the CS deficit as well. The bot lane, the Twitch being so far behind in CS, mattering a lot in keeping that gold deficit as close as possible. And then in the top side as well, the Sylas doing such a good job with the kills plus CS to make it so that the Malphite has yet to matter a bit. And interestingly as well, just to quickly point out, Malphite went for some heal cut. Not in the form of the... what is called? Of the
Thornmail or the as we're gonna get a little bit of an engage here. That's going to be big time Boyo going down. Nice interrupt on the crash down from the Cyclone, and now Legomoth's taking a fair trade in the bottom lane as well. Doesn't look like Keylime's gonna be able to finish this one out, but get some good poke damage.
Damage for damage, going to get Wenwin the birds there, and going to almost get close to completing the jungle item. Still has some bits to go, but so far it's all good for them. Oh, Nicknix.
All right, Maces, just exclusively using Unstoppable Force to immune different ultis from Nicknix this game. Has had to do it on his own before, now has to do it on the Magnet Storm, and just getting pushed around by this Sylas now as he starts to get some levels into him and really start to build up to being that threat to Malphite that he could be.
Better than dying, right?
It is
going to work out much better than that. He's also going for he's going to opt into the tank build, obviously, but I find it interesting the decision making to go for the Oblivion Orb instead.
Yeah, wants to make sure at least some amount of his damage is going to stick on the Nicknix here, otherwise it's just all going to get regen back by the Kingslayer. Laneless stepping up, thinking about a dive perhaps, but would probably want to be coming in from the jungle rather than from the river if that were the case. Is instead just going to sneak up into the alcove. Wants to go for something here, as there's going to be the Paranoia popped in mid, and wow, nearly melting him solo. Wenwin gets so much damage there on a Platypus, and he's going to go down.
Honestly, like Kamal is really greeting for the kill to go for the ultimate there, but yeah, that is a huge amount of damage from Wenwin, securing the kill and a couple of plates here. Probably going to get 3 plates. Okay, with the teleport they get, okay, they actually secured the 3. Ooh. Flash.
Flash down for Wenwin. Nice swing there with the death sentence from Commissioner. Going to get another summoner spell out, but otherwise not going to get much back. The gold actually going to come into Chaotic's favor thanks to what they were able to get done there. As now here's going to be to the bottom lane. There's going to be Keyline pulled back in by the Magnet Storm. Young Jay is there ready for the damage and is going to go on a killing spree. That's a 1k gold lead to Chaotic.
Pretty much caught with his pants down, was pushing the wave, forces both summoners out and still cannot escape. Great engage by Big Time Boyo and Young Jay securing another kill. Also static shift completed by the Kaisa, so now pushing power pretty much going to be unparalleled over in the mid lane. They could actually look for another plate here, but I like that Young Jay is respecting the potential of someone collapsing on him and instead probably has enough gold for the Blade of the Ruined King completed. I think he has. Okay, not yet actually.
Not quite, just a hair outside of completing it. You can see he has the extra dagger in there as well. Not going to be able to finish off the item. Nicknix still trading up here with Maces. Now does have that Everfrost completed and having stolen away the ultimate as well. This time Maces doesn't have his. Going to be a big difference to keep an eye on, as Nicknix can also just enjoy in the fight later on. That's going to be Laneless chasing down onto Wenwin. Spell shield already on the follow-up on the Cyclone, looking for the solo bolo. Laneless finishes him off. Hook over the wall. Nicely played by Commissioner Platypus. Gets his name on one as well, and Primal Instinct strike back.
Yeah, perfect position there by Laneless to secure not only the kill onto Wenwin, but also to be able to secure the kill onto Big Time Boyo. Two really nice picks just before the dragon spawning. Obviously, it's not going to be enough to deny Wenwin to try and contest there, but they will have value over there. Like a Moss looking for a kill there, really. With Malphite ulti. I'm not sure about that.
Looking for the solo kill, and he gets it. Now running away. Mace is going to finally be able to get the shutdown, but now what can Platypus and Commissioner get done? Looks like plenty as the death sentence lands, and Platypus is just going to be hunting this one down, taking that passage back in, and Platypus gets the follow-up kill. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Primal Instinct.
Yeah, a bit surprised with the decision making there by Lycamoss. Not for the decision to go for the kill, but how they played around it, especially because there was Malphite ultimate and Flash Steel on the sidelines. That is a lot of damage that it's going to be done, and precisely Lycamoss dies immediately. Luckily, they at least secure a 1-for-2, and also in the bot side, Twitch gets a lot of plates by himself. So gold value, at least keeping itself close enough, and it seems like Dragon potentially getting secured as well in the meanwhile.
Yeah, Laneless is here, but is just going to get pushed back away. Youngjae present as well. Keylime a little bit late to the party, but Nicknix is joining in. It is going to be a 4 versus 3. Here's the engage. Wenwin going to pop the paranoia, just trying to melt down the dragon. It will get stolen away by Laneless, and Wenwin is going to bite it at the same moment. Now Big Time Boyo locked in the pit, going to be the next one to drop, and that's going to be 2 kills to Primal Instinct.
And the difference there, the fact that 2 members were over on the top side coming down, like I'm also stuck up there. Malphite was coming down from the mid lane to the play, and then the Twitch also was a bit late to it, so they couldn't start it really effectively. Meanwhile, PIB had all members coming there. The Syndra was the farthest away, and she was still hovering really effectively over on the side, and that's why at the end they secured a kill. Ooh, Lycamoss, oof.
Yeah, that's a poor odds one-on-one right there, I would say. Platypus unleashes power, has the turret for the assistance like a Moss. Not going to be able to win that, but Youngjae looking for a little assassination opportunity of his own onto the opposing marksman. Keylime going to have to pop Ghost to run out of there, but Nicknix now looking to collapse, steals away the Magnet Storm. Ready to go in a moment's notice, but will just back away. Will return to his duties in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Rift Herald getting started up by Laneless, it looks like.
Well, they have the control over on the topside river, so more than likely they're going to secure it. Once again, it's post plate, so it's not the worst objective to give up in any way. And if you're able to make the use of the play or make use of it in a really effective manner, can find a lot of value. Platypus by himself here is going to be able to escape. They know that someone is over on the Rift Herald side, and they were able to secure it as well previously.
For sure, Maces now coming up into the top river, throwing down the Q on a Commissioner, chasing him down. That's an attempted hook onto a red buff, but he doesn't land it. And that's going to be it for Commissioner. Youngjae goes on a rampage, and now with the numbers advantage, what can Chaotic Solar get done? Primal Instinct going to at least trade for this bot lane turret as Nicknix tanking it up to make sure that it will go down.
Good damage there on Lycamoss. It's pretty much going into trades for each side. Both teams are finding good opportunities to get them as much trades as possible. Wenwin.
Keylime.
Oh wait,
flashing in. Wenwin nearly goes down there. Laneless still fishing around. One more shot doesn't land. Keylime, he finally finds it. He gets the solo kill. Laneless, no credit earned.
Yeah, at the end, Laneless doesn't get the kill, but they still secure a kill onto the Nocturne way too far forward with the Rift Herald here. More than likely, they are going to secure this turret and probably a second one as well. They have 4 members here.
Yeah, nobody's here to deal with Primal Instinct in their mid lane push. They even save the health onto Shelly, so going to be looking for a second super powerful crash out of the Rift Herald. Youngjae stealthing up big time there, threatening the engage, but I think they could have kept that up. There's 2 members still in base, but I guess they just get a little nervous with the absence of vision.
Exactly, it's more so that respect. So the fact of the matter is that this Rift Herald results in a bit of a, not useless, but not as useful utilization, because at the end of the day you could have taken the turret by yourself. You don't need the the Rift Herald to use it as effectively. But now, with the turret advantage in the mid lane, with the fact that they already took all outers, and then Dragon will spawn in 2 minutes time, they can try and take control over of the bot side river, and with the fact that they have 2 dragons as well on their side, soul point is going to be a really important matter for them.
Soul point could make a huge difference for Primal Instinct, seeking to really solidify their lead into this game. You gotta believe Chaotic Soldar are going to be ready and rearing to fight for that 3rd Drake. And that's the opportunity to blow this game wide open. They've got themselves about a 2k gold lead. They can turn it into 3 or 4. That's the point where you really start to snowball out of control with the game. And already, Primal Instinct looking to set up. They're going to try to pick themselves up this Scuttle Crab at the very least. Meanwhile, Nick's still clearing waves up on the top side, making sure he's going to be able to join when the time is right.
He wants to try and be as strong as possible for when the moment calls. Probably even just trying to secure the item advantage as well. He's close to getting his 2nd item, so if he has that for the time he has to teleport in, probably going to be a much bigger advantage for PIB than just what the Sylas can provide right now. It's already good enough, but he's going to get even more value if this back turns into a 2nd item for this Dragon fight.
For sure. The recall completed by Nicknix. He's teleporting in. 30 seconds to go. They are ready to get this party started. Maces has access to that TP, is hanging out in the top side,
Platypus.
Not threatening anything. There's going to be a potential engage. Platypus getting caught to start things off, not what they want, but we'll only get chunked to about half. There's going to be the Paranoia pop. Dash in. That's actually Nicknix using the Paranoia to start the engage. Doesn't land the chains on a big time, though, and he will be able to escape. That's going to be the Sylas ultimate down. There's a big 3-man unstoppable force coming in from Maces, and like a moss jumps into the bank line and is ready to start raining down hell. There's going to be 2 kills picked up on either side. Young Jay has bitten it, but like a moss stands strong, trying to fight it out. But the members of Primal Instinct Black, they've got too many stats. They fought it through the whole way. Nicknix and Laneless refused to drop a triple kill to the monkey, and Primal Instinct Black, they win it for themselves and get the ace.
In astounding fashion. I don't know how the hell did Laneless and Nicknix win that, but they turn around the situation. And I have a big question mark that I hope to get answered in the replay. Like a moss, I think he's stuck. He was standing for about 1 or 2 seconds, doing nothing. And I'm not sure if that was because of a stun or if he was doing something else, but something happened in that fight. We can see how it starts with the engaged potential coming in from the Nocturne ultimate stolen by Nicknix. Really good start. It doesn't set up the kill, but it's still a really good start to try and force. Then the massive Malphite ultimate by Maces here. 3 men setting up perfectly for a potential fight, even though the re-engage is a bit late from Big Tempoyo. The Twitch and the Kaisa go in really, really well. Great stun by the mid lane there. But here, this is what I'm kind of curious. Hits the W into the cannon.
Oh, he's upgrading.
No, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Did he upgraded mid-fight? That is so unlucky, or really bad. Better said, because that takes away seconds from your damage.
Man, he definitely thought he leveled. He thought he leveled up. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna control click here, put a point in my ability, go back in. Oh, what a disaster there for like a moss.
It's the difference between winning and losing the fight there.
It really for sure is. That's a big stun on a big time Boyo. He's going to be melting down right away. Like a moss looking to redeem himself in the last fight, but he just gets one shot by the Magnet Storm. With the re-engage, Mace is coming in with the unstoppable force, but his team's already dropped around him. Primal Instinct Black with a 2nd fight slam in a row. Gonna pick themselves up the Baron, gonna pick up Nicknix a triple kill, and they're gonna take full control of game number 2.
Nicknix is a monster this game, gaining the teamfight victories, gaining everything in their value, and another huge teamfight that PIB is able to execute here. Small Misliga once again on the way to execute the combo, and it secures the teamfight victory for PIB. It's not like Chaotic Solar cannot find angles to make their fights work out. It's just that there's a slight or small things that they are missing out on that really could make a big difference in those fights, and it's allowing PIB to instead get the advantage, get the upper hand, and win the fight here. Really good collapse onto Big Tempoyo. Didn't allow the Rel to essentially do anything in this fight. The re-engage with the Nocturne ultimate plus the ultimate here, if that hits, it's a one-shot over on the barriers, and he dies immediately. There's nothing to do there. But because there's so much delay, Twitch also dies, the Malphite goes in by himself. even if they find value, it's not to the same degree that they could have done to start off these fights. Really is making difference to small moments there.
Oh, Nick's going back in, not willing to let up here. Going to dive in with that paranoia. There's the engage on a 2. Scatter the weak lanes. He's out of there once again. And now Mace is going to be the next target. Laneless right on top of him the whole way through. Not going to be able to finish him off.
Laneless is so strong this game, and we're facing the curse, or not the curse, but a thing of the ACL, Gordo. It's whenever Wukong is picked, he pretty much wins the game. That's already, I think it's a stat as of now. I think it's 7 games won by the Wukong so far we've seen. So it's like, Wukong just has something in the ACL that he wins games.
I think he just has that thing in League of Legends. Is like a Moss diving in, has the paranoia as well. This is that long range engage, and they are going to be able to pick up a big shutdown on a Nick. That's 1,000 gold into Moss's pocket. But what about the mid lane inhibitor? They've already lost the turret, and they're about to lose the inhib itself. They can't get back in time to deal with it. Commissioner, though, up a little far thanks to that death sentence, is going to have to pop the ultimate. Win coming in on the flank, but like a Moss has completed the TP, so he's quite a ways away, especially without that killer instinct. Still, big time Boyo and Maces. They're not willing to let it up. They know they have the numbers advantage. They're going to start chasing down with the Duskbringer, but there's going to be the knockback landed by Platypus. Prey Seeker doesn't find a target, and it looks like they will be able to get out of here.
They didn't have paranoia, so it's really difficult for them to start off the fight in that situation. I will say, I think it's more worthwhile to get the shutdown onto Nick and also giving it to the Kai'Sa, even if that means losing the inhibitor. And I say this mainly because it's the mid lane inhibitor. If it was bot lane or top lane, I would be much more against the idea of giving it up like that. But the fact of the matter is that this is the easiest inhibitor in the game to protect. It's mid lane, that means that you have access to everything in the map relatively easily. You will be fighting for the next dragon, so pushing this wave is kind of a must anyway, and you're going to still go through the mid lane for almost anything. I think that this was the better choice in regards of what you can lose for what you can get. And if this turns into a teamfight victory for this dragon, then it's completely worth. But they have to fight for this dragon, and they have to win. Because if Chaotic Solar doesn't get it, it's Soul for PIB, Infernal Soul for PIB.
It's a TP from like a Moss just to get a little bit more distance, make sure he's going to be in the mid lane. He's going to be here and ready for this fight. 10 seconds to go on the dragon. Already Maces needs to make sure he stays stealthed, he stays hidden, and finds himself a good angle into this fight. This is Chaotic Solar's last chance probably to pick themselves up some pace back into this game and to not get shut out here by Primal Instinct's lead. It is a big gold lead for Primal Instinct though.
Dragon already started, half held as of now. They are trying to force it, taking a bit of poke damage. Oh,
Paranoia pop, the dive in onto Platypus.
They don't get it.
Combo. The does plenty of work here, and Young Jay is just unleashing from the back line. A triple kill picked up to like a Moss. Platypus, the last one standing, does get a trade back in, but Young Jay is here. Young Jay is fast, and Young Jay is ready to melt him down for the ace. That's going to be a huge pickup for Chaotic Solar. They lose the Dragon Soul, but they slam the fight, and they have to they have nothing stopping them. They can just run their way into the base.
How long for the next target? It's 17 seconds for the barriers. They have 3 members, 280 carries. They are going to play it safe, and I respect that. But a really big teamfight victory, even though they lost the Infernal Dragon, still so much gold back into their pockets. Surprised that Wukong was still able to get the dragon through Paranoia, because Paranoia was still active in the time of the Dragon Dance. You can see the poke that it's getting taken by the members. They try to rush it down. Paranoia liked the timing on it and the way that it was engaged, but he missed smite. Yeah, Nocturne smited first, and then the Wukong smite came through. Really unlucky on the timing there. Could have been such a good collection of the dragon plus the teamfight victory, but they still forced the fight really, really well.
They definitely did. They got their fight angle they were looking for. They stacked the Malphite ult and the Rel ult on top of each other, and that can win them fights even still now that they've given up the soul. They've gotten plenty of gold back. Well, it's really up to how highly do you value that dragon soul, because you lost about 4 or 5k your gold lead in order to get it. Now, what can Primal Instinct do? Are they going to be able to make up the difference with that Dragon Soul and actually close this one out?
Well, they are able to buy enough time. There's an even bigger objective that they can use to win the game, which is Elder Dragon. That is a game-winning objective. So if they are able to buy enough time, That is something to keep in mind. But with Baron, with Soul, I'm kind of not sure if PIB is going to give up that chance to win the game like that. It's really difficult to say, if I'm honest.
Definitely is. These Void Seekers now so strong with Kaisa having completed that Rabadon's. The poke is actually pretty sizable here for Choatic as well. Mace is eventually getting spotted here, but tanky enough that he can kind of just shrug it off and keep on walking. And there's another Void Seeker. Commissioner's at half after heating 2 of them.
Yeah, and the fact is that, well, for those that don't know, the upgrade for the W, every time you hit someone, the cooldown is like 2 seconds after that or 3 seconds after that. So you can spam them as much as possible. Nicknicks with ulti. Now with the Malphite ultimate, the counter engage for teamfights can be quite great.
Yeah, you got to pay a lot of respect to Nicknicks now once he's got that Malphite ultimate. Just as much power and CC as Mace's, but with a whole boatload of... But they're just going to pull the trigger. And 2 targets melt instantly to like a Moss's Acathian Rain. Make it 3 as he finds his way out of the Wukong. This is just a one-sided slam for Chaotic Solar. They find their fight that they've been waiting for, and they absolutely demolish it. When the only one dropping, but everyone on Primal Instinct off the map. Chaotic Solar looking a little shaky there for quite a bit of game number 2, but they are going to slam the team fights, and they are going to take this series 2-0 and start competing for the top of the Demacia group.
Talk about a way to end the game. One fight, well, I will call it out. It's 2 fights because the Dragon fight, even though they lost the Dragon, they still won it super convincingly. And then this one as well. The call, the way that they played it, the way that they forced the issue. We'll have a last replay, I think, for that fight to see how committed Chaotic Solar were for the fight. That was so beautiful to see because everything worked out so well. And I'm sorry for doubting Chaotic Solar in a way that maybe they weren't going to be able to pull out the fight. But look at this. It's the way that it's setting up. There's one word here to try and get this, and as soon as that is down, when the Baron dance is starting to try and secure the vision, the objective, the control, it's so good to know that this space is completely blank. Maces had no flash, but with the ultimate, with the fact that they had vision control and no vision on the other side, as soon as the engage happens, pull the trigger, everyone follows, they were ready to go for it, and they win the fight super handily. It's a 5-4-0. Or, well, actually, no, 5-4-1 at the end with Nocturne dying, but it's a completely worth sacrifice. It's so beautiful to see executions like that from a team because it goes to show not only their commitment for the play, but the way that they were communicating, everyone jumping on the play and committing like that. It's great to see from Chaotic Solar.
A great use of the paranoia once again, and really living up to its name there. Once you start throwing down that vision denial, it's so hard to protect against these kind of wombo combo team fights. Not only are you not really able to get a good sight line on the Malphite engaging and knocking up your Syndra for 2 instant kills, but you also don't really have a way to set up your fight lines and get onto either of these marksmen, right? Kaisa's down in the bottom right, Twitch is up in the top left, and both of them are so far away from anyone who's doing relevant damage like the Varus that you couldn't even touch them if you wanted to. You don't know where they are. It's very difficult to play out the fights from those situations for the side of Primal Instinct, and not a surprise that they end up going down in it.
And honestly, I love that you bring it up like that because it's a good showing of the real uses of range in the game, right? It's because typically we hear the range difference or range discrepancy as just being in a 5v5 who can reach the targets weaker than the other. Pretty much is the way that the range works. But this is a great example of how to utilize range advantage against a team that maybe doesn't have the biggest range. And that's exactly what they did onto the Varus, because like you're bringing up, if you have one carry on one side, and one carry on the other, you cannot touch them because one huge mid shield is currently in front of you. Your range, even if you have long range, it doesn't matter because you can just reach one of the two. You cannot reach both. That means that your damage is going to get separated from the important targets. And even if you focus one, the other can come through and kill you. I think that is a perfect showing of how to utilize, even if you have short range, how to utilize it to your maximum ability. And also, huge credit to Youngjae in this game, and not only that fight, but for the whole game, because talking about positioning and range, he played those Twitch fights as well as he could. He died a lot of times, but he still played with his range in the best way possible and dealing as much damage as possible. Really, really good from him to showcase here.
Yeah, and shout out to Like a Moss. The 2 games on the Kaisa mid really showing why that champion has kind of started to rise up in priority a little bit. First picking at both games, and first picking in their available picks. It was a counter to the LeBlanc in game number 1, but you know, one mid-fight evolve that will be a very funny clip to look at, but making up the difference there and able to come out with a fight win.
I implore that we save it for any sort of content. That is amazing to see. I think it's the first time I think I've ever seen a Kaisa evolve mid-fight. Like, that's the first time.
Well, you've never played with my Kaisa, my friend. That's it's a rough one. It sucks. It's you never want it to happen.
This is the kind of thing that I'm glad I see it as an observer and not as a player, because that can really mess you up if you're playing the game and that happens. Yeah. But still, at the end, they secured a victory, at least.
Yeah, Kha'Zix is the classic for that. I do that on Kha'Zix all the time, man. I like you get your level and you get confused about, well, I got a second level here. It's just I don't think they need to make the ability icons differentiated from the level up icons. I think this is a very small problem, but they are not easily differentiatable in a second. I'm not paying that much attention to my XP bar all the time. I just assume I have a level, and sometimes you end up losing the fight. It happens to the best of us. It happened to Like a Moss in this series, but they do still end up coming out with the win.
I always thought Riot, or at least that's what I thought, Riot purposely deactivated it or made it so that if you're taking damage or if you're doing damage, you couldn't level up. I thought that's how it worked, but I guess not.
That would make a lot of sense. I don't know. I mean, it's possible that he hasn't taken any damage yet in that fight. Like, he was kind of on the outskirts.
He missed a W while... we apparently we're gaining like a mod, so we can ask him this, but...
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of a curious thing, and I'm really interested in asking him when we.
All right. Well, I'll leave that question to you. We're gonna throw it to a quick break here while we can get everything set up for Like a Moss to have their interview. But we'll be back in just a second with Like a Moss. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Champions League. We are joined by the victorious Like a Moss, fresh off a 2-0 win over the undefeated Primal Instinct Black. Like a Moss, congratulations on your win. How does it feel to take down an undefeated team? Were you thinking about how their record has been in the ACL so far coming into this match?
Not really. I just always show up, play my game, and I know that I'm better than every mid laner here, so it's no big deal for me.
All right, good stuff. Like the confidence.
Pretty convincing there. And going a bit into how the series went, I want to talk about your Kai's particularly. And obviously, there were a couple of things here and there that were great to talk about and great to see. And I'm excited that we're getting you to talk about it a bit. But before that, going into both games, you played the Kai'Sa both times, obviously against different champions, but you opted into different runes as well with the Kai'Sa. And both Gordon and me thought an interesting adaptation, particularly because it was obviously different matchups and different ways to play it. But I'm kind of curious what your reasoning was going for each matchup and the adaptation from. I almost always forget the name of the rune, the one for the 3 out attacks to press the
Hail Blades, lethal tempo.
Yeah, Hail Blades into the other one.
Yeah, so for Hail of Blades, it's really good against champions where you can do short trades. So against like LeBlanc, she dashes in, you auto Q auto, and you can get in that sweep in that second auto with Hail of Blades. And every auto matters because you're basically 80 carry lane versus 80 carry lane in the early game. But against Syndra, like I'm just gonna get pushed off, and I'm just like taking team fight room. Because for the early team fights, lethal tempo shines a bit more than Hail of Blades against that team.
Yes, it was pretty much the reasoning for the fights, much more so than just focusing on the lane.
Yeah, it's just a farm lane against Syndra, so like the rune doesn't actually matter. I'm not going to be able to use Hail Blades in lane.
Fair enough. Makes a lot of sense there. So, clear from your first answer, right? You got a lot of confidence as a mid laner coming into the ACL. Are there other mid laners in the league who you think, who you respect as like rivals, or who you see as like big oppositions to yourself, or do you really have yourself as like a big tier above the rest of the league?
So I think Mirage Alliance is like on the other side of the bracket, or like on in this as well. Dudley is really, really good. Massive respect to him. Like he's always been good. So I've got nothing bad to say about him. Like he's going to be the hard competition for. I remember a one tournament on my friend McVay's stream, and I beat him on that. So we'll see.
All right.
Already setting up expectations for any potential finals. I see. Good. Going to be exciting to see that happen. And I also want to quickly talk about, obviously, we were beaming a bit on what happened with the Kai'Sa upgrade mid-fight that really, in my eyes at least, that is a second or 2 seconds that really could have changed fight. But obviously it's not intentional. How did it, or what happened for it to come in like that? And how were the comms at that moment particularly?
So I don't think anyone was watching me when I did the evolve.
Okay.
We were.
Yeah.
I just noticed randomly. Like I was thinking because you were kind of. I didn't notice the upgrade animation. I noticed you were standing. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, like for me, I actually don't have that many Kai'Sa games. Like I played Kai'Sa a bit when she first came out, like just messing around with ADC. But that's like my 5th Kai'Sa game, like total, in like the past like several years. So I'm also like a very big Victor player. Very used to like upgraded evolves,
Okay.
and I can just like slam them with Victor like in the middle of a fight and it matters. But with Kai'Sa, I'm just clicking buttons and it just happened.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We were making the Kha'Zix comparison because he also locks himself out, but you're right. Yeah, Victor just kind of does it. He doesn't care. The superior being there for evolved
But now
abilities.
thinking about it, right? That's a weird thing. The fact that Victor doesn't get locked out of being able to upgrade, he just upgrades immediately. But Kai'Sa and Kha'Zix are forced to animation upgrading.
He's the oldest one. He doesn't have an animation, right?
But
I think it's because Victor's just been changed on the passive several times, so Riot's never done anything about it.
I kind of feel like they should at least make it so that if you're taking damage with Kha'Zix and Kai'Sa, you cannot like upgrade it like that. Because I feel like if it's animation wise, you should not like get locked down like that. It gives funny moments like this one, but it feels like a random thing to happen. But it makes sense with the comparison of Victor.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I want to ask a little bit about the roster as Chaotic Soul are starting to climb up in the Demacia group standings here a little bit. You guys have made a couple of changes throughout this season. You started running Maces a lot more in the top lane. J-Bear still listed as the starter. And then you made that swap at support, right, with bringing in Big Time Boyo. Curious about how that's kind of changed the team dynamic at all and what some of your guys' goals were with those changes.
I think it's mostly just so that with Boya as our support now, like our energy are like up, so everything's like able to flow better. We're actually like improving as a team now from NA LOQ. With Maces and Jair, it's like basically depends on the day how they're feeling, like who feels like good is going to play, and like I like them both. They're both good players, and so it doesn't really matter for top lane, but like whoever feels good on the day gets to play, and Maces is feeling really good right now.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I love some top lane slander. Almost always great to attack it. Apart from me, it's nice to hear someone else attack it from time to time. And I would like to make the final question on my side. Looking forward, you already kind of hyped up the potential for Mirage, but Chaotic Solar is a team that I feel like people had expectations, but not the highest nor the lowest. They are a team that are kind of fine in between in what some people would expect out of a team. Do you think that this roster or your roster with depending on the players, things like that, had the potential to go not only for a an upper bracket run, but a grand finals potential as well?
We should be able to make the upper bracket run, no problem. Grand finals, like, I don't think we're gonna drop any games in this bracket. Like, if we just keep on playing the way we're playing, like, I'm not really worried about it. I think a lot of the players in this team, there's like varied experience. Some are like newer and stuff. I think over the NACL OQ and the games we've been playing recently, I think players are starting to come into their own and like actually have the confidence to like make these games work.
All right. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well, that's going to do it for our stream here, for our interview here. Like a Moss, want to give the last word to you. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to those who are watching on the stream?
Yeah, just shout out to like any Harrisburgers who are in the chat. I played on Harrisburg for a while. Love all you guys and enjoy my team. Like I like everyone from coaching staff to managers to the team. It's just good stuff all around.
Great to hear. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Like a Moss. Congratulations once again on your 2-0 win for the night, and best of luck in the rest of the ACL. Hoping to see you again soon. But that's going to do it for tonight's stream of the Aegis Champions League. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in at home. And from myself, TDS, and Caddy on production, have yourselves a great night, and we will see you next week.
Give your body to the fire. It's true that you perform.